Hi, this is the Leroy Studios. You're welcome to another episode of Android Programming. We'll be looking at the Android login and register with Sqlite Database, but this time we're going to be building more on this. We're going to be adding up the forgot password activity. The video we have right there on your screen is actually developed, or let's say done for a couple of months, where we get to set up a login and register with the Sqlite database in quotes. So we were able to create and read, and now we're going to be using the updates. That's where we get to reset or set the password. For example, if the user forgot a password, the user will be firstly asked for the email address to check if the email address exists in the database. So if the email address doesn't exist, definitely you have to register. You're just a new user. But if it exists, that could give you the access to reset the password. And the resetting the password is quite very simple. You just updating the password field in the Sqlite database. So that's just it. We're going to have the password and the confirm password to just confirm if your password you're putting up is matches, and you're going to reset that. So it's just a basic way to actually set up a forgot password. We have some more complex way to do this. Probably if you are handling or if you are communicating with the server, you could actually send a message to the user's email address. So that email address message would have a link to actually reset the password. So this is just like confirming and authenticating if the user really exists, and that's just it. So this is just the basic way, and there's no way, and you still have to follow this process. You have to check for the user and probably reset the password and get the user a new password. So those are the things we're going to be covering in this session. I will implore you to check out the video. The Android login and register with the Sqlite database is in two parts, part 1 and part 2. So you could actually understand how to set up the login, how to set up the register. From this link up right there you're seeing from the screen, you could actually watch this video and you could get the source code. So I've extracted the source code from the GitHub, from the part 2. You see the source code in the description, and I've set it up, and now I've added the forgot activity, which I'll be showing you right now on how to do that, how to implement the updates in the Sqlite database. Straight down to Android Studio, I have the setup. In the build Gradle, the app compact and the support design, all cool, because you're gonna need that when we're talking about the text editor. The edit text now is going to use the app compact edit text, and we're going to use the app compact layout as well. So the essence, we need that in the support design library. So cool. From here, I'll be editing to the layout files that I'll be needing. I added, or if you could notice, the activity confirm password, the activity forgot password. These are two layouts that were added, and we'll be using it right now. Starting up with a forgot password. This is where you're going to check. You're going to check for the email address if the user exists in the Sqlite database. Firstly, that's the first check, and you only have the input layout, the text input layout wrapped around the text input edit text, and that's what you have right there, and that's the email field. After that, you have the button called the app compact button with an ID, app compact button confirm, and some styling just to make that much more visible. Cool. We have the closing linear layout compact and also the nested scroll view. You might not need the nested scroll view yet because you have few feeds to really work on. It's not going to actually stretch down to probably the other pages or so. So cool, but you could still leave that right there because we're going to be using the nested scroll view to add up the snack bar to make that work. So the snack bar is going to be our toast in this application. Let's get to look at the second layout. The second layout we'll be working with is the confirm password. After the user might have checked if its email exists in the Sqlite database, the user moves further to reset the password by actually entering the new password and confirming that same password. With that, you could reset the password. So you have two fields right there. The first field is for the password, where we have it as the text input edit text from the Android Spot Design widget, and the second one is the confirm password, also from the text input edit text and the app compat button to actually depict the button. So we'll get to actually code up the logic in the Java classes, and for us to do this very well, we'll actually implement some few logic here. So heading straight to the classes we have the classes in the activities, which is basically the activities of this application, where we have the users register, login, forgot, and confirm password. And we're going to be talking on the forgot password. And we have the SQL package here, which is for the database helper, where we get to create the table, where we get to interact with the Sqlite database to fetch all the data, to add up to the database, and now to check if the user exists in the database. And we're going to actually be doing the update, how to update the database. So cool, that's the essence. That's what we'll be doing here in the database helper. So I'll actually start from the database helper to actually see the update method, which would actually update the password of a particular user. This is a snippet that's just been added. This is the only snippet added in this class. Others are still left intact: the add user, the check for user, and fetching all users if you want to add that as well. And in the update password takes in two parameters: the email and the password. The email will only be the where clause. That's why we need the email. Now let's dig further. We have the Sqlite database object that gets the writable database, and now the content values to pass in the values into the columns, which you're actually going to use that to put to the database. Now, which column are we looking at? Only we're looking at the user password. That's the only column we want to change when you're resetting the password. Cool. And now we pass the password value, which will be sent from anywhere the value is coming from. And after that, you trigger the DB update, the name of the table, the values, that's the column, and the value you're actually setting up. So it's actually going to be update table or update users table set. That's what it's going to turn to. Set column user password and the value from where exactly is going to be the identifier, where it's going to be. Sometimes it's always the ID, but not all the time. Any column could serve as the where argument. So now from which aspect, where's the identifier that will make us know that that is the point, or that is the row that the user password must be changed, because you might have other users. So where exactly? So where the user email is what we're actually passing from the email field. So where the user email is paramoyk@yahoo.com, and the value. Cool. So that's just what this line is going to do. And you close up the DB. Perfect. Now let's get to look at the activities involved now. The forgot password. Cool. This is where we're going to actually test if the email of the user exists. So don't let us forget what we expect in here. We have the fields set up for the edit text, for the input layout, for the button, and the database helper. That's the class we've just talked about now, and the nested scroll, which is the wrapper around those layout views. You initialize them right there in the onCreate method and instantiate the database helper with the validation if you're using that, or you want to actually handle the validation manually. Set the title, recover password. That's going to be for the toolbar. And then now you trigger the on-click listener to the button. So there will be a listener to the button once it is being clicked. So what's going to happen? You override the on-click method and you trigger the method called verify from Sqlite Database. That's what that method is going to run once you strike on the button, which is the button we have for the layout. We have it set up in the XML. Now the verify from SQLite method. What's this method going to do? Firstly, it's going to test if the field you passed in into the email is empty, because some people might just want to test your firm, just tracking the button. Let's see what's going to happen. It's going to tell you, please fill out this email field. You just can't move further from here without the email field filled out. So that's just what the toast is going to do. After that, not only that, even if you pass in a valid email address, the system should be able to track down, to dig down into the SQLite database and check if this user has registered already or not. So that's the essence of this next line. To check the user, we have that in the database helper, which we've actually set up for the previous video in the register and login. Now we're still using that snippet. Now we're going to check for the user. That's a method in the database helper, and passing the email address set up from the edit text. You extract that, you get text, you convert to string, you trim up. You have that as a string. Now you're going to test if the user exists. If it doesn't, it's going to bounce out. That's a wrong email or a password, or please register again. But if the user exists, surely cool, that user has registered already. You could move further, and now an intent will be triggered to the confirm password, and you have to put some extra, which is that email address, because you'll be needing it to pass those values into the update password method in the SQLite database DB helper. You saw that right there. You pass in the extra, which is the email, as the key, and the values is going to be the email address that you actually check, that you extracted from the text. So with that, you start the activity and you pass those extra. So we're going down to the confirm password, and we're expecting what? An email address as the intent extra. Right then, the confirm password, we have the fields we're going to talk about. We have the text for the first password, and we have for the confirm password. You have the nested scroll view as well. The app compact, that's the button to set the password, and the database helper, where we're going to interact with the database. Cool. You need to initialize the views and instantiate the objects if you needed right there. That's what is being done here. And now let's get to have the intent. The intent, you call the intent, and you get the string extra, which is the email which was sent from the forgot password activity. And now you pass that as a string, a global string called email. You've actually set that up right there. So that email will have a value. It's not going to be null. You can also test to make sure that what is being sent here is not null. If it's null, nothing should be done. So you could even go further to be sure you are not having a null intent passed from the forgot password. After that, we still need to set an on-click listener to the button, because that's still what's going to trigger. That's the interface, the final interface. Once the user still strikes in the password, it's going to trigger the set button. Let's get this done. And at that point in time, you set on-click listener, you override the on-click listener, and you override the on-click rather, and you trigger the update password. Let's get to see this method now. This method, we have it right there. Firstly, we need to extract the password, the first password. You pass that to a string called value1. The second password, which is the confirm, you're trying to confirm the password because you're going to type the password twice. You call that value2. And now let's get to do some validation on these string variables that we have. The first validation is to test if it's empty, if those two values are empty. That's if the value 1 is empty and not or this time. Don't use or. The second one too must not be empty. That's why you're going to use the and ampersand. If the value 2 is empty, what it's going to do, you're going to toast at place, fill all those fields, and you return. You're not processing the data. The second validation is if you're testing if the two fields, that's the first password and the second password, matches. That's where you're going to use the content equals, that's the value 1 and the value 2. If they are not equals, using the not, the sign, the exclamation is the not in programming, and you're going to toast password doesn't match. Cool. We've actually handle the second validation. The third validation is now the email address. Is this email address valid? Do we have this email address in the Sqlite database? We shouldn't have a duplicate. We should have more than one of this email address. So that's the second one, to check the user email address. If it's not valid, it's still going to say, please, this email doesn't match. But you tend to wonder, from the first validation, we've actually validated the email. How come it still doesn't match? Anything can still happen. So you have that set up. The database might have changed, or the database might have had some issues when you were trying to do that. So you're still going to validate that. And if all validations were met, you're going to move further to trigger the update password from the database helper. That's the first method I explained while talking when we actually started with the activities. And you're going to pass in this email, the same email that was validated, and the value, the first value. You could pass in the first value and the second value. They must be the same, so you don't worry about that. And at that point in time, the update is going to be triggered, and it's going to be done, and you're going to move an intent to the login activity. So please log in again, and let's see if the new password is going to work. So that's just the essence, and the new password is definitely going to work, and you move further to enter or to your dashboard or to your home activity or to your main activity. So you start an activity and you finish up. You shouldn't get back to this point. Don't go back. Don't want to set the update password once you've updated and reset the password. You shouldn't get back to this activity. That's the sense of the finish. So you have that, close that out, and you're done. So with that, you move back to the login activity and you finish up the process. You could log in, and now you could move to the users activity. So I'm actually going to be showing the screencast of this demo of this implementation. Let's see how the flow, let's see how it works. Perfect. It's the introductory way to actually set up a forgot password. There's still some other robust way to do that, which I've explained. Probably you send some link to a real life email address, and the user must check that from the email address. The link will actually help them to reset the password. But basically, you're still going to do all this I've explained, and it's just a crowd. You're going to update your database anywhere. Probably you have a cloud database, probably it's the internet database. It's still going to be the update. You are updating the new password to the password field. Cool, that's just it. In the manifest, you need to add up the activities that were used. We use the forgot password and we use the confirm password. So you have to actually log that into the metadata of your application. With all said and done, we've completed this session, and I'm very sure that you've actually picked one or two things in how to actually get this done. Maybe you've actually understand how to update the Sqlite database. Maybe you've understand, this is how to compare two different passwords. You've been noticing dates in fields. Password 1, password to confirm your password. How are you going to match that? We have the method to do that, which is the content inquiries that you see here. So that's a lot to actually learn, and I will implore you to leave a comment in the description, and also please turn on all notifications to actually get any of my videos, any latest videos, and you'll be actually notified if as it comes into the channel. And I will implore you to please strike on the subscribe button, subscribe to my channel, and from here I'll say thank you guys for hanging out with me throughout the session. Please, peace out. Have a wonderful time. Bye bye for now.